So Kevin, I just have a question for people in the group. Is anybody attached to a bike shop or another organization that they're trying to give that organization credit for? So you are?
Yeah, we belong to a couple. One is the Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. That's up in Northern California outside of Gray Eagle and northeast of Truckee. Northwest of Truckee. And then we're also part of the Santa Cruz Trail Association, which is in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And they are also trail builders. We're also part of POST, which is the Peninsula Open Space Trust, and several other land trusts in the local area.
Cool. Oh, okay, interesting. So what about you, Bob?
Hi. I'm not sure if, we do a lot of gravel, and we're connected to like Portland Velo as ride leaders in that. And I do have connections with a couple of the big bike shops in town, River City and Western Bikes, which is one of our sponsors for Portland Velo. I've actually tried to talk to Western in the past about sponsoring some gravel activity, and they didn't seem to really be interested or see how it fits. And that was when they had a couple shops in town, and now they're still in town, but they're a web-based organization. They've closed their 2 stores, and they operate out of basically a huge warehouse out by the airport.
Interesting. So, and Dan, I don't know if you can hear us, or Antonio. Kira's with Dirty Free Hub, so I know her answers. Okay, so okay, is there anybody else? Okay.
I just have a question. So one of the routes that I frequent here, I'm in Eagle, Idaho. There's a winery, right?
Oh, great.
Route. And so
are we talking about the three horse winery?
Yeah, 3 Horse Winery. Yeah, anyway,
yes.
So I don't drink alcohol, but I always stop there, for taking a break and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's something that go and talk to the people, say there's a good, and I noticed there's a lot of cyclists that use that route. Talk to them and say, this is part of the route that we're going to publish. Are you interested in being welcome into cyclists? Something like that, without sponsoring.
Yeah. Yes. So we actually have an ongoing conversation with them right now.
Okay.
And we rode, it was back in September, we rode out there, and we did that route. And we talked to Mavis in detail. And I need to get back to Mavis because we're making some changes to the route, and Mavis actually asked us to rename the route also. And she was very good about it. So it's a little bit of an action item for me that I haven't forgotten about, but it wasn't at the top of my list because we moved into the winter season. But if you're starting to ride that again, then we need to.
I just rode it on Saturday, and
okay.
I live just right off that road, Eagle Road, which becomes Willow Creek.
Yep.
That takes you over there. So it's easy for me to just get out of my house, jump in there, and do that loop, which is about 26 miles loop. And there's a lot of places to go there. I mean, you could go all the way to, you can make it from here to Cascade, which is about 100 miles.
Yeah.
So
that's a beautiful area to ride. Yeah.
It is beautiful. Yeah. I love it, So anyway, so that's my favorite area to go to, and it seems like a lot of the same, but it's, it's like better than taking Prozac, because go out there, there's nobody there.
Yes. So
I so agree with you.
Yeah. So Kira and I will get on top of that one and get that working.
Well, next time you guys are around here, just, I'm in your mailing list, give me a job, because it's just right. Jump out of my house and go in there on that route. So.
Okay, good. Cool.
Yeah, we would love more routes in that area.
Yeah. Well, good.
Linda, what was the purpose? You had a reason for asking that question. What was the reason for
No, I just was curious if anybody was like, for example, a bike shop owner we get occasionally will, and they're a little bit different in terms of what they want for a bio. It's great to have an individual as a bio, but the whole idea is every now and then a bike shop will give us a whole bunch of routes. And so we have to figure out how to work with them. It's just a little bit of a different.
Well, actually, let me bring one up. I know what you're. So I'm going to bring up a route that Linda's. This is a route we're working. This is actually a route we've published in British Columbia, and it's being done. It's being done by the Tootie Gravel Inn.
Oh, yeah, we know them. We follow them a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
they're really cool, but they're serious
So-
cyclists.
So with
Yeah.
them, we've done a call out down here of keep it local. Hey, if you go up to the Kamloops area or the Caribou region, a great place to stay is at the Tootie Gravel Inn. We have a video with Kelly and Aaron, the owners of the Gravel Inn, that's right here. And then on the details tab at the very bottom, we actually have a short bio of Kelly and Aaron also. So that makes sense.
And my other question, Kevin, is what about route names? Those are obviously very important. And if there is one family fight between the two of us, it's over route names, by the way. We agree
So-
just about on everything else in life, but never about a route name. It's really funny.
I will start with what doesn't work well. Route names make a big difference.
They do.
A bigger difference than we actually think that makes. So if we call something the Santa Cruz Gravel Loop, it won't get much traction. If there's an attraction on the side of the road along that loop that shows
Banana slugs, for example.
yeah, if it shows like a stuffed monkey hanging from a tree, some child's little stuffed monkey that's hanging out of the tree and somebody put it there. If we called it stuffed monkey, it would get all kinds of traction. So route names that somehow tie back to some of the geography or a piece of the geography of the route that has a playful twist works really well. Like Take Me to the River is kind of a play on, oh shoot, what's the band that did that song, Take Me to the River? The Talking Heads.
The Talking Heads, David
Yeah.
Byrne. Yep.
Yep. So it's a little bit of a play on that. Over the Rainbow, the route that I was talking about earlier, that's a play on a grocery store that's along the way.
It's
Well, the
grocery
rainbow
store is
market.
a kind word. It's a dump.
Yeah. So
It's a dicey place to go.
yeah,
It's really
so
funny.
the more creative you can actually be with route names and have a 1 or 2 degrees separation to something on the route, the better it is. Like we have a route that is called Pink Lady that is in the middle of nowhere. And for some reason, a rancher out there has got a statue, kind of a 2-dimensional statue that is made of iron that is painted pink. And we called the route Pink Lady. And it gets all kinds of traction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if-
But we don't need any more Wolf Creeks, Lost
No.
Lakes.
And
We
but
have
if
two,
I
I think,
yeah.
we have 2 punch bowls. It's like,
Yeah.
oh gosh.
I called something after a town name, the Madras Y, meaning it was a Y in the road and it was named after the town. It's a great route. It gets no traction because I used a really poor name.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and so I'll end up renaming it at some point.
People like
In
ghost towns.
the
too.
business, we call that clickbait.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Think clickbait.
Yep.
It ain't clickbait. No,
Yeah.
Madras Y.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and also in naming, we do have to be careful. I call the route Sherman's March. We've had to rename that. We had one called Jailbreak because it went by a prison. We had to rename that one because the town didn't like it. So there are some other considerations to think about. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it
Yeah.
sounds playful and fun, but to them it wasn't playful and fun. It was demeaning. So you have to be a little careful.
Yeah. So, any other questions or comments?
How about the 30,000 foot overview of what you're trying to do?
Okay. 30,000 foot overview. So this started out as a hobby project about 8 years ago, and it turned into a nonprofit 6 months ago. What we're trying to do is create a community of gravel cyclists that really care about where they ride. And the clickbait is that we publish great routes and route guides. But in those route guides, what we try to do is we try to tell stories about culture, history, and heritage. And we do that through narrative text. We do it through podcasts. We do it through the videos and the public service announcements within the videos. And we do it through the photos. Our hope is that if we touch a gravel cyclist enough, that they start having a connection to where they're riding. And if they have a connection, they start caring about where they're riding. And if they start caring about where they're riding, they start getting involved with organizations like the Nature Conservancy or the Deschutes Land Trust. And they could be involved as advocates. They could be involved as volunteers. They could be involved as donors. I'll give you the example we have going on locally is we have a forest area that many people thought was public forest area outside of Bend, and it's actually a private forest area, and it's under threat of development. What we've had happen is it's open to recreation, but it's under threat of development, of being developed into housing. And so a number of gravel cyclists have finally are riding in that area. We've done a couple of webinars, we've done some podcasts on that area, and now people have realized that it's a recreational asset. And now they're looking at how can they be involved in protecting that recreational asset as to become a community asset. And so that's our ultimate goal, is to be, are we protecting and conserving recreational lands so your kids or your grandkids have great places to ride when they grow up?
And I would say it, you are connecting communities. I do a lot of riding out of Gaston and Yamhill. And one day I was riding out of Gaston, I got back and there was this kind of old codger like me picking up trash in the parking lot of the baseball field. And I started talking to him. Turns out he's the mayor. And so we started chatting, and he loves cyclists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, you know, they would love to see more cyclists. And then the question becomes, how do you connect with the community? And the reality probably is that a lot of people love seeing cyclists, others not so much. And so how to actually create and know that you're doing something positive to and for the community, as opposed to just kind of using their turf for your own purposes.
Yes, and Bob, two things there. One, I really want to talk to you about the Gaston routes because we don't have anything in the Gaston area. The second part is like in some of the public service announcements, what we do is one of the messages we're trying to do is keep it local. Spend your money where you ride. Meaning that if you go to a small community like Yamhill or Gaston, at the end of the day, either stop and fill up your gas tank, or if you go to Carlton, which has a couple of little cool brew pubs, go there, spend some money on lunch, those kinds of things. The other thing we're trying to do up in that area that you're talking about is we're trying to do podcasts basically on logging road etiquette and farm road etiquette, because there's a lot of hazelnut filbert farmers up there, and a lot of people who ride come out of towns that are Bend and don't understand farm road etiquette of, hey, when you see a big combine, these people are out making a living that day. Kind of put your foot down, let the combine pass, make it easy for them to do their job. Or if you see a logging truck and it's a narrow logging road, that logger's doing his day-to-day activity, trying to make a living. And so as cyclists, we can stop, put a foot down. We're not in a huge rush. And so that's some of the things we're trying to do through podcasts is logging road etiquette, farm road etiquette, wildlife impact, talking about the filbert farms in terms of the filbert trees. There's two types. There's an American filbert and there's a European filbert. The European filbert, a lot of those farmers were hit with the blight. And so we're trying to do a podcast dealing with the blight and of those.
That's interesting, because we just did a route up out at Banks, and we stopped at a corner and talked to a woman and her child. They had a filbert farm. And it was an interesting story of, this was a young couple who had bought the farm from her parents. And they were having to redo all their trees, because what the dad put in was the ones that have the blight. And it's just a fascinating story of the challenges of those areas, and they loved it. It's always fun connecting and getting into those communities.
Yeah, so
And then the other side of this also is the economic development that we can provide for some of these really poor communities. We'll head out into Eastern Oregon and we can have a massive impact on these tiny, tiny little towns out there that love cyclists, love to have them staying with them. I think places like Dufour, Oregon, which, what else do they have out there? They have some farming, that's great, but they can really do well if they can attract cyclists to that area.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, we've actually just set up there's a group of about 15 of us that are doing a 4-day gravel event. The first 2 days out of Dufour at the hotel, and
yeah,
the
we'll be
second 2
there.
days out of Maupin.
Yeah.
And they love it. We talked to them and they're excited.
Yep.
Yep.
No, that's dynamite. And that's some of the stuff we're trying to achieve. And whether it's direct or indirect, it really doesn't matter. But if we're helping out in economic development and we're being good riders or good visitors to where we go, we're achieving our mission.
Yeah. There's a reason why the mayor of Maupin loves us. He's really cute.
Well, all these folks, like we rode out there's a bike bed and breakfast in Vernonia. And there's a couple guys I ride with out there. One of them probably knows more about gravel than anyone else I know. And he works with Trio in Central Oregon too. And but they're trying to get people to come out. They've got this beautiful bed and breakfast that has rooms for like 4 couples, and they got great dirt and gravel rides out there that they actually lead. But they're having a hard time, kind of getting it out and getting connected.
Yeah, Bob, send them our way. We can, like I just showed you on the 2D gravel in, we can do something like that too.
Yeah, we can help them out.
We can help them out.
The other thing that I want to comment, you were asking about why Dirty Free Hub. Kira, who's actually on our call
Kira,
here.
you still there?
Yeah, she's there. She's an intern, and during the pandemic, Kevin and I sat down and said, God, we feel really sorry for these poor college students who are trying to go to school all via Zoom. So we couldn't figure out what to do. We finally decided we would create internships. So Kira works on about 1 billion different things for us, and we are so lucky to have her because she's way smarter than us. But it's a win-win. We can give her tasks that I doubt any other organization would hand an intern the task of, hey, can you convert your .com over to a .org? That was a pretty scary thing to convert our whole website over. But she did it great and she was awesome about it. So I don't know.
I would say the thing I'm really proud of with Kira is Kira's done some podcasts for us, and she recently interviewed, and her podcast is really, really good. And it's on the web. I think it's on the website. If not, I'll have it on the website in the morning. Is she did a podcast with the executive director of the Central Oregon Land Watch on Skyline Forest. And it's really, really good. And it's really impactful. And so, for her Kira, are you 22?
Almost 21.
So for Kira, who's almost 22, to interview the executive director of a large organization that's doing great work, and to have such a powerful podcast come through is really, really cool to see. And I guess the other thing I'd add is Dirty Free Hub is not just Linda and myself. It's an organization of about 15 people who are mostly volunteers. Our bookkeeper is a paid person. Kira is an intern who's paid. Our other intern is also paid. But it's a collaborative effort of mostly volunteers, but some really great interns also.
Well, thank you for that. Two other questions real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Have you guys run across the Gravel Adventure Field Guide series?
Yes.
We're working on one.
We're working on one.
Are you the ones that are doing the work for the Bend one that's coming out this year?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, let me call that a qualified yes. The lead on the project is Visit Bend. And Visit
Of course.
Bend. Okay.
Of course.
And we are, and the person running it from Visit Bend is Serena. We
Serena
are,
Gordon?
yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Small world.
Yes, and we are providing the route expertise, the layout in terms of fonts, colors is all done in-house by Visit Bend with Laurel. The graphic design is done by two gentlemen out of Colorado.
Right.
So yes, yeah. So we're intimately involved in that. And that's,
So the Patagonia one just came out, and that was very
yes,
good.
yeah.
It's very, very good.
So I would say long term, you'll probably see more of those guides coming out.
And then my second question is, who do you think your primary customers are? Are they the communities or are they the riders?
I would say the cyclists for sure. So
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the primary audience being the riders, the benefactors being communities. I mean, the riders are also benefactors, but the communities are benefactors.
yeah, there's a lot of different stuff. There's a whole list of reasons why we do this, but in my mind, at the end of the day, it's about the cyclist. Because part of also why we do what we do is to get people off onto quieter roads. We've had a couple of cyclists killed in Bend,
Yeah.
and we saw that in the early days and thought, why in the world are we all riding on these busy, heavily trafficked roads when we have 1,000,001 miles of forest roads that we can ride? So that was just a matter of getting people to know where they should ride.
Okay. And then I'll stop after this question. The technical hurdle of getting figured out whether you're using Strava or Ride with GPS and you're on a Garmin or a Wahoo or a Hammerhead,
Yeah.
and all being able to do that within 10 minutes before the ride starts in a town that you're not sure where you are.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any FAQs on that or advice or recommendations?
You have opened up the magic can of worms. It is, people are using those platforms in so many different ways that we initially looked at trying to do FAQs, and the deeper we dug into it, the harder it became for us. And so we've actually backed away from that. There are some great YouTube videos. There's some Google searching. Ride with GPS does some great stuff. We provide GPX files. We now provide a Strava route page. We provide a Ride with GPS page. But we've backed away from being technical support in any one of those areas. It's just, we would be doing technical support 24/7 if we did it.
We had people calling us at all weird hours, like, hey, this is what the problem is. And we're like,
yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say is we are very cognizant of watching what platforms are out there, meaning that we're working with Outer Spatial.
Yep, they're great.
We're working with them. We're doing some work with RideSpot. Those are both being integrated into the gravel adventure field guide. So we keep watching those things. We keep having those partnerships and discussions.
Right. We're also sponsored by Wahoo. So we've worked with them. We've worked with Ride with GPS. We've worked with, I mean, everybody just will tell you it's a really messy industry right now. And
yeah,
we're hopeful that in a year from now, it'll be a lot better. But
unfortunately, it's very messy out there. And I thought it was going to simplify, and it's actually gotten more messy. So I don't have a good answer in terms of FAQs or how to get this stuff on your device easy. I mean, every once in a while I struggle with it at times. So it's sometimes technology just doesn't behave like we want it to always behave.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I am glad you're using the PDF enabled or the GPS enabled PDFs with Outer Spatial. Those are really good.
Yeah, and we're doing our first 10 routes with Outer Spatial for the Gravel Adventure Field Guide.
Okay.
And what there'll be in the Gravel Adventure Field Guide, if you saw the Patagonia one, there's a QR code which you hold your phone up to. That QR code is actually going to be different than what happened in the Patagonia field guide. That QR code is going to go to a one-page landing page on your phone that'll give you the option of going to the Ride with GPS file, the Strava file, the Dirty Free Hub website, or Outer Spatial.
The other thing we're doing is we're working on a database where we're going to put all of our routes into a database, and that will protect us a lot more from some of these technology shifts and will allow us to connect to a lot of different platforms. So we're very hopeful about that providing a much better user experience, but we've got to get through it. And we're working on the funding right now, which is a pretty heavy lift because it's $30,000. So.
So it's called Dirty Free Hub 2.0, which is basically moving the site from what initially started as a hobbyist website to a professionally developed site that is all driven by a database, such that we're not dependent upon any certain technology, and we always can adapt to the technologies in the future.
Check.
Okay. So is that?
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, listen, we look forward to seeing everybody in Doofer, it sounds like.
Yeah. And Bob, I am going to write you an email. We're going to talk about Gaston.
Okay, I'd love to.
Yeah, because we've got some stuff in Yamhill, but nothing up in Gaston. And I'd like to get some stuff up in Gaston.
Yeah, we would love stuff in Gaston.
And there's banks. Actually, one of my ideas lately has been that you could actually make a whole sector of Oregon 47 from Banks to Carlton. You've got Banks, Forest Grove, Gaston, Yamhill, and Carlton. And out of all of those areas are some really good gravel routes. We did a new one Sunday out of Banks. Yeah, which is really cool.
Cool.
Sounds lovely.
I appreciate you all taking your time on a Tuesday night.
Nice to meet you.
And Antonio, we really want routes out of Idaho as well. Please, please, please. So
what are your priorities for routes? Does it matter where?
No,
are they organic?
It does not matter. It does not. Well,
it doesn't matter where. We want them in the
West Coast of US.
Okay, West Coast.
Yep.
And what's critical mass for an area to make it interesting?
Typically.
Okay, let me take that one, Kevin.
Sure, go ahead.
So we actually, when we think about routes, we think about them in a couple of different ways. We need routes by big cities because it helps people to gain trust, right? So sometimes they're not even like the best of the best routes, but we need them so that people kind of, get their feet wet and go, oh, okay, this is what Dirty Free Hub is. I can do this. And now we can send them out to where we really want to send them out to, which is like the middle of the Ocho's or someplace, some tiny little town out in the middle of nowhere or someplace out in the middle of nowhere where they would never, ever, ever think of even going. But now we can give them the confidence to do that. So to answer your question, it sort of is twofold in my mind in the way that we think about routes.
And so like if you take a smaller town, like a town of 10,000 people, and we know that we're bringing, let's say somebody from Boise to Baker City for a weekend, then we need to have like about 5 routes around Baker City. So that person can choose 2 or 3. So like when you went to Ajo, I think we only got 4 or 5 published around Ajo.
Yep.
And that's the minimum that really can bring somebody into Ajo. Because if we only have 1 or 2 around Ajo, it's not going to bring people there for the weekend.
Check.
So do you have routes around Moab?
We do not. There's a couple of routes out in Moab that are on my radar, but we do not have them out.
Because we're leaving Thursday to go ride in Moab for 4 days on road. But I know the people that are putting on the event, which is like for 400 or 500 people. And I thought I might ask them about the gravel community in Moab. They're
That'd be dynamite.
Community.
Absolutely.
That'd be great, Bob. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
The West is a big place, even though we narrowed it down to the West. We could have just stayed in Oregon, honestly, and we would still spend the rest of our lives mapping routes.
So, again, appreciate you all showing up tonight. This has been dynamite. Thank you.
Yeah, we really
Thanks very
appreciate
much.
it.
Nice to meet you
Thanks,
guys.
Kevin, Linda.
Yeah, thanks, Kira. Nice to see you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.